Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. This is a very important video. So it is about Drive Rush. I'm going to show you how to use Drive Rush, how to do it, what it's used for, and what properties it brings upon when you use it in a match. There's a lot of videos out there that do this already, but what I'm going to do in this video is I'm also going to explain, how you deal with it, how you use it, how you deal with it, how you defend against it. And I'm going to look at Drive Rush in the grand scheme of things. So you've got Drive Rush, you've got jumps, you've got Drive Impact, you've got Whiff Punishing. I do feel that that is the core gameplay or the core meta with Street Fighter 6. These are the things you're focused on in neutral. This is the neutral game. And only from there, when you put into the corner or when you get a knockdown, are you put into the more traditional sort of blend, throw, strike, shimmy type scenario. So the neutral, the core gameplay itself, like I said, with punishing, Drive Rush, you're talking jumps, you're talking Drive Impact. You've got to be ready for these things when it comes to the Street Fighter 6 neutral. So at the end of the video, we will look at this. Okay guys, so I'm going to show you how to do Drive Rush. There's two ways of doing it. I have got my camera on my pad. So you've now got the inputs that you can cleanly see on the controller, like the overlay, the display itself, but you've got the camera so you can actually see my hands on the pad and how I'm doing things. Drive Rush is done in two ways. You can do it raw. To do it raw, and please note that I am on classic controls, you hold parry and you input forward, and your parry will cancel into a green dash, which signifies that Drive Rush has enabled. If you do this, it should cost you 1 bar if you do it properly, but you can see there I lose gauge because of the parry itself. If I do forward, I think it takes half a bar once you're already in the parry state. So half a bar of drive gauge, you're held in a parry state. That actually isn't the optimal way to do this. So the way you want to do this is you want to do an instant Drive Rush. The reason you want to do an instant raw Drive Rush is because, number one, it does cost less meter overall, and number two, it's because it comes out quicker, so you can get your follow-ups faster, you can catch people off guard a bit better as well. You don't want the opponent to see the parry held, because that will signify that a Drive Rush is probably coming, especially if you're at this kind of range. It kind of gives the opponent like an early indicator that you're going to Drive Rush. You want it to be instant, you want it to look like this. See that? Very quick. Do it again. Now I don't have it perfect, but that's pretty good going the way I'm doing it. And the way I'm inputting this, I'll do it very slowly for you, is I do forward, I do the forward input, and then after the forward input I will do parry forward, and what will happen is the inputs overlap. The dash, the double dash, I said a double dash, the double forward comes out and it registers that I've done a parry, and it will create the Drive Rush, the instant Drive Rush, instant raw Drive Rush, should I say. So I'll do it quickly now, and I'll slow it down in terms of recording speed so you can see it on the pad as well. So it's very tricky, and I found it's very hard at the beginning, but I'm doing, like I said, the sequence is, and it's as quick as possible. I do forward, parry into forward. So the parry into forward is kind of like it almost feels like a plink. I'm kind of doing the parry and rolling it into the forward in terms of input timing. The parry happens just before I do the forward. So it's almost as if I'm doing a dash, a forward. I'm sneaking a parry in between the two forward inputs. And you can see if you do it perfectly, it should take just 1 bar. I think it's actually taking just a smidgen more than 1 bar there when I'm doing it. But maybe I haven't got it down perfectly. There you go, that was perfect. But that's how I'm inputting this. And by doing it that way, I actually get it very consistently. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the input when I get it. So the second way to do Drive Rush is from a normal. Only normal attacks and only cancelable normal attacks you can Drive Rush off of, and to do that you press forward after the normal attack connects. That's on hit and that's on block. So I'm going to use crouch and medium kick, and I'll press forward off crouch and medium kick. You can see there I get the run into the green glow. People have told me that it's very hard to do this from crouching attacks. My advice is, and if you watch again the pad overlay and the camera, I advise when you do a crouching attack, even if you're holding crouching, as soon as you commit to a crouching attack, let go of crouch entirely. Just go back to neutral. If you do this, it makes the forward input a hell of a lot easier. You try and hold crouch and you try and go into forward. It's extremely hard to do. It's not very consistent. It's tricky on the fingers, on the thumbs, or whatever you're using. I'm on pad obviously, so that I feel like it's better on pad. But yeah, let go of the crouch entirely and then do your forward attack, and you will get a drive rush from that scenario. It has to be a cancelable normal. If you stand heavy kick, no drive rush. Sweep, no drive rush. Can't use drive rush off of normals that can't be cancelled. You also cannot use drive rush off of specials. Also worth mentioning, a cancelled drive rush from a normal costs you 3 bars of drive gauge. A raw drive rush, as we saw before, costs you just 1. The reason, I think, because of the cancel costing 3 bars, the reason for that I feel is because on hits you're going to get a damaging combo, and on block you're going to get plus frames, you're going to get free pressure, you're going to get in on the opponent, so it's quite costly to do that. So you have to weigh up whether it's worth spending that meter to get in, and if it will put you in a good situation or a disadvantageous situation. So the next important question, what does this do then? So what's the point of all this? So the point of all this is on block you get frame advantage, so you have a mix-up. You can go for frame traps, you can go for tick throws, you can, you get in on the opponent. It feels very traditional Street Fighter 5 type Oki pressure. So you can go for a normal into grab, you can go for a frame trap, a normal into a normal, you can go into a normal into walk back shimmy. That's what it does once you get in on block. But what about on hit? What about if you get a drive rush on hit? What happens? So I'll show you a basic combo with Ken. Crouching light punch into chin buster. That's a basic combo with Ken. But if I spend drive rush now to go from the standing medium punch into drive rush like that, I now will get new combos that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise. So just to recap, that's the basic combo, right? You can see what I did there I did crouch jab into stand medium punch, drive rushed it, and I did it into another stand medium punch. That comboed, but because the second stand medium punch was drive rushed into, frame advantage increased. Just to go back to what just happened, stand medium punch is normally +4 on hit. If I run into it, it's now +8 on hit, and that enables me to link it into crouch heavy punch for more damage rather than just going into the target combo. So you can see it can actually change combos quite dramatically on hit. So it changes combos on hit, and on block it creates this, it creates the throw, strike, shimmy, mix up, the rock paper scissors. So let's look at the pressure on block. So if I do crouch medium punch into forward dash crouch medium punch, that's a true string. You can see there, it's a true string. But if I frame trap now for that, you can see my my stand medium punch from my now plus drive rush crouch medium punch frame traps. Normally this does not frame trap. Reuse 4 frame jab beats frame trap into stand medium punch. If I drive rush into it, I create a frame trap. You can also create a frame trap from the run itself. So even before you get those plus frames from the drive rush normal, you can go from the drive rush into a button to frame trap as well, which is pretty wild. So you kind of get, you can potentially get, you can frame trap into additional plus frames. So I can do this into that, crouch medium punch, stand heavy punch, and then get a follow up, because the stand heavy punch itself in drive rush is now plus on block. I think it's +2 when it's drive rushed into. So you can create layers of frame traps here. If I now set the opponent to throw instead of jab on block, you can see I can do drive rush button and step back to get a shimmy. So this is the rock paper scissors that I was referring to before, like the Street Fighter 5 style rock paper scissors. It's interesting though, they can't walk back and shimmy. If they go into drive rush, they cannot walk backwards and shimmy. That run is a commitment. The drive rush, you cannot cancel it by just holding back. You have to do something, whether it's with a throw, press a normal, do super, I don't know, but you have to commit to something. You cannot cancel the drive rush. Okay, so now we're on the stage where we talk about where are we using drive rush. So people will use drive rush raw in neutral to get in. They'll use it literally raw like this and just use it to get in. If I'm honest, drive rush into like overheads and lows is very powerful in this game. So Ken doesn't have an overhead outside of the run, so I can't show you a drive rush overhead with Ken. But when someone raw drive rushes, you're looking to crouch block, but if you feel an overhead's coming or you see an overhead's coming, I haven't tested it, maybe we can fuzzy guard it. We can do like a combination of like high and low blocks. You may be able to block the high and low mix up from raw drive rush. But raw drive rush, the way for me to articulate this in terms of my knowledge of Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6 is it just feels like a very fast dash from far out. People tend to drive rush from this kind of range, I feel like sort of like average players. If you see the green glow at this range, be ready to check it. Be ready to check that attack. You may get baited if they do this and cancel it. Your normal may whiff. It could get baited. So many mind games around this. But if you see it coming and you feel they're going to commit to pressure, try and check it. And try and check it with lights. Go for 4-frame buttons. Don't go for heavies. Go for 4-frame buttons. They've got a good range as well, I feel. Just stop it coming in. Think of it as like a traditional Street Fighter 5 dash. It's a very fast dash if you played Street Fighter 5, that is. So you're trying to check that raw drive rush in neutral with buttons. At this kind of range, it's extremely difficult to check the drive rush. Extremely difficult. I don't even know if you have advantage to check it. So be wary of that. It's quite scary when it's done at this kind of range, raw. Another common place where you'll see drive rush used is on Oki. Now, Street Fighter 6 Oki, I feel you don't get as much Oki in this game. It's definitely toned down compared to Street Fighter 5. You can see there if I dash forward, I get Oki, I get a throw mix. But if I set the opponent to recover, back recover, I'm going to go for the same knockdown and dash. A back rise after my heavy DP, I'm no longer in range to get pressure. I can't get any more pressure there. If I do another dash in that scenario, I think I do 2 dashes, I'm actually minus. Yeah, I'm minus 13. I'm actually punishable for doing 2 dashes. Try and close down the gap and the back rise. I'm actually in minus frames there. So, what people do is you drive rush for Oki. So you use drive rush to cover the ground to get you in, and you get in and you generally plus on the majority of knockdowns. I'm not going to say all because there are some knockdowns where even when you drive rush you don't get Oki. But for the knockdowns that are quite close, even if they're back rise, you use drive rush to dash in. And the reason you use drive rush to dash in is for 2 reasons. Number 1, you get in on them, even if they're back rise, you get in on them. Number 2, I now get plus frames after the knockdown. I get more damaging combos, I get a frame trap, I can do a shimmy like we saw before. All the stuff I showed you in terms of combos and unblock pressure from a drive rush button, you get this setup. You can also use it just to do a throw as well. If you want that raw throw, there's no reason why you can't do drive rush into throw. As the defender, as a person getting off the ground, you won't be able to check this. This is not a checkable drive rush. You're not at a position of advantage to check it. So you have to hold that pressure. And like I said, it goes back to that whole Street Fighter 5 pressure. You know, the knockdown into frame trap, knockdown into throw, knockdown into tick throw, the knockdown into shimmy, the knockdown into delays. You got all these layers from Street Fighter 5, which sort of appear in Street Fighter 6 through this knockdown scenario. So this is the reason why you need to learn the instant raw drive rush, because you need to use that a lot on Oki. So another important aspect of drive rush is its ability to grant normals extra juggle points. So there are situations where the opponent's airborne and you press a normal button whilst they're airborne and nothing connects. That's very like traditional Street Fighter. You know, there's a lot of buttons that generally don't combo whilst the opponent's in the air. There are some in older games, but for the most part that doesn't happen. But in this game, if you drive rush into a button, you've got that green glow. We've mentioned before, plus frames on hit and on block, but you also get these juggle properties that you wouldn't normally see. I'm going to use stand heavy kick in the corner and just press heavy punch. You can see there, it does not combo, it doesn't even connect, it just whiffs. If I do stand heavy kick punish counter now into drive rush stand heavy punch, you see now, it actually does connect, and that's because of the properties that drive rush gives these normals. Again, it's only drive rush into normals, it's not specials, we're not talking about anything else. And it's represented by that green glow around the attack after drive rush. So you can get some really cool combos using this technique, but you've got to consider, again, is it worth the me to spend? I mean, you're only spending 1 bar to get that follow-up, but you need to consider, is it worth spending the drive gauge to get these follow-ups for the damage? And you also need to learn which combos you can do this from. So that concludes the information on drive rush. So just to recap, we covered how to do it, the different versions, what properties it introduces, and where you'll most likely see it in Street Fighter 6. What I'm doing now is I'm combining this into, you know, I don't want to say meta, but combining it with other things you'll see in this game. And this is like a good drill to use to get used to drive impact, drive rush, particularly checking drive rush, the instant raw drive rush you'll see neutral. So what I've done is, on recording settings, I've gone to record. I've recorded Ryu moving around a little bit and jumping on slot 1. Slot 2 is a little bit of moving into drive impact, and slot 3 is a little bit of moving into instant raw drive rush, and then a crouch and light kick. So I've got them recorded. If I then press right to go to replay, I've put the repeat replay on. And I've turned these 3 options I've recorded on as well. And what this will do is this will cycle those options randomly. So if I go back into training mode now, I restart and turn replay on, you can see Ryu will cycle through different options here. There should just be 3. So there's all 3. We saw drive impact, we saw jump, and we saw drive rush. So the exercise is just trying to react to all 3 of those things. So if you see drive impact, do a drive impact back. The jump, you do anti-air, and if they do the raw drive rush, you try and check it. With the check-in and with this drill itself, you want to be at this kind of range to deal with those 3 options. But I feel this combines the knowledge I've shared with you regarding drive rush, particularly checking it in neutral when it's raw, with, you know, the greater approach to the game, like the meta. Again, I don't want to use the word meta, but like the things that you're going to see in neutral. I've combined a few things to sort of simulate a real match scenario. So yeah, you just want to try dealing with all those options. It will take some time to get used to it, to deal with all of them, especially the drive rush. It's tricky. I'm hitting that drive impact so late. See, there you go. So it's not perfect. I haven't got it mastered yet. You can see there, I wasn't in range to check it, which is interesting. My jab actually missed. But this is very powerful. Very, very powerful. Press jab there. There you go. So you can check it. And I'm doing this a lot in my matches. in all honesty. So I don't know. I think that's a good drill to run. For Drive Rush, I think that's all you need. So let me know what you think. Any questions or queries, give me a shout. And if we need to have further discussions on Drive Rush, then yeah, we can have them in the comment section. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.